If this has ever happened to you, you might be an Alabama fan.
Okay, but like, what does roll tide mean? What is roll tide? It's the wind beneath your wings. It's a cool breeze on a summer day. Roll tide is acceptable at any occasion, from a baptism to a funeral, from game day to parole hearing. Roll tide always has been, is now, and forever shall be. In short, roll tide is everything. What are you talking about? This sounds like a cult.
Tuscaloosa, Alabama is where our story takes us today, home of the University of Alabama, the best university in the state, nay, the country. Tuscaloosa was my home for the best 3 years of my life, 2020 excluded. The toilet paper shortages hit my apartment particularly hard. Roll tide. Since graduating, it's become somewhat of a tradition to go back to Tuscaloosa each fall to revel in the dynasty that is Alabama football. I didn't really get serious about photography until after college, because if there's one thing a broke college kid doesn't need, it's an expensive hobby. And remember, I had racks of crappy beer to buy. My film photography from this time was all produced with the Minolta SRT 202, and the only reason it's even worth mentioning is because it's particularly bad. I think it's safe to say I've greatly improved technically and aesthetically since then. In an attempt to do Tuscaloosa some justice after setting the bar in the basement, I decided to bring along the Mamiya 645 and the Nikon 83 on this episode of Saturdays in the South. So, off we go. Roll tide. Fast forward to Friday evening, it was time to head out for a night on the town to relive the glory days, when all your friends lived nearby and the hangovers didn't hurt so much. The Nikon came along to capture it all on some extra tasty Portra 400. To kick off the night, we met up with my friends Chase and Riley for tacos and a round of margaritas. Chase and I were roommates all throughout college because a personality test freshman year said that we'd be compatible roommates. And you know what? They were right. After the margs, it was a short walk to our usual rotation of bars in downtown Tuscaloosa. Since it was a game day weekend, we didn't dare try our luck at the Strip, the area of bars right near campus. Since we're all actually old enough to drink, we didn't want to pay a $60 cover and be surrounded by a bunch of 21-year-olds from Connecticut with totally real, definitely not fake IDs. What do you mean, man? It scans. It's totally real. Wait, don't bend it like that. It's called art. Look it up. I don't remember who took this, so thank you to both Katie and or Chase. The night ended with an Uber through the aforementioned Strip, so you know I had to get a picture of the Waffle House. Saturday morning, regretfully, I woke up. But with an afternoon kickoff, there was plenty of time to walk around and commit the sights to gelatin on the 645. I loaded it up with some Gold 200 and got to it. What's that? The first good shot of the video? Roll tide, Denny Chimes. president's mansion is only one of 7 buildings to survive the Civil War, with the rest of campus being burned to the ground by advancing Union troops. The story goes that the wife of the president at the time persuaded Union troops not to burn down the mansion, and even to put out fires that they had already started. Some versions even say that she invited them in afterwards for lemonade. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it certainly makes for a better tour. After exploring the history, it was time to head into Bryant-Denny Stadium for kickoff. Saturday morning, regretfully, I woke up. With plenty of time to kill before our afternoon flight home, I headed back to campus in a feeble attempt to feel something, anything at all. And now we've come to the serious portion of the video where I visited the gravesite on campus. It's pretty inconspicuous from the sidewalk, tucked behind some trees in a math and science building, and it's not even depicted on the university map, which is kind of frustrating considering who's buried there. Among the several people buried there, 3 of them stand out. One of them was a student named William Crawford who died on campus in 1884, and the other 2 were enslaved people. The plaque placed on the site lists Jack Rudolph, a man born in Africa around 1791 and died in Tuscaloosa in 1846. The other was William Boise Brown, a little boy who died of whooping cough in 1844 at the age of 7. Mr. Rudolph was owned by the university at large, and Boise was owned by the university's second president. A man whose name still adorned an academic building until 2020. I'm glad that the university is finally getting around to removing the names of some of the worst people in Alabama history from its buildings, but it really shouldn't have taken this long. I mean, better late than never, but come on, 139 years to put up a plaque? 155 years to not name buildings after unequivocally bad people? Sorry for the tangent, but people need to realize that these things are effects from the pre-Civil War era that we're still dealing with. Like, the plaque has been placed in my lifetime. I got my whole degree at the university before they started renaming buildings. Americans tend to think of the Civil War from this far-off thing 150 years ago that's done and dusted, but in reality, it's pretty easy to see the through line from then to now if you just care to look a little bit. This is why understanding the causes and effects of history are so important. We can't possibly chart a path through the present into the future if we don't understand our past. Thank you for bearing with me. I'll get off my soapbox now. Moving on, I decided to check out my favorite spot on campus, the engineering quad. This is where my freshman chemistry professor told us how to make meth. And this is the fountain that you're definitely not supposed to wade through after you graduate. And this building, home to the earthquake simulator and engine lab, provoked a strong stress response in my body years after graduation. Neat! And that was the end of the roll of gold. With 2, maybe 3 portfolio shots, I'd say that's a pretty solid roll. I love the pastel tones of these shots. It reminds me a lot of overexposed Portra 400. You have my respect, medium format gold, for both your tones and your price. I threw in a roll of Ektachrome and continued my walk through campus. Adam, in the future, maybe don't shoot slide film directly into the sun. The last few pictures came out of the scanner a little bit bluer than I would have liked, which is pretty on par for Ektachrome. I was able to warm these up after the fact, but the same thing could have been accomplished in camera with the 81B filter that I already own. It was at this point where the weekend took an unfortunate turn. Almost as unfortunate as being an Auburn fan. Roll Tide. The airline had canceled our flight that afternoon for no apparent reason. The incoming plane was probably a Boeing that fell out of the sky without us ever hearing about it. The earliest flight they could get us a seat on wasn't until Tuesday, which wasn't going to work for us because Katie had to work Monday night. So we took the only option available to us, which was to rent a car and drive back to Virginia in one day with no preparation. If I had a nickel for every time a major airline has canceled my flight last minute, forcing me to drive 12 hours across the country to get home, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it sucks that it's happened twice in the same year. We rushed to the airport just to hurry up and wait for 2 hours while waiting on a car. On the bright side, at least they gave us something interesting to drive. We made a quick stop at Buc-ee's for some supplies and to mentally prepare for the task ahead. I even got to meet the beaver himself. It's pretty harrowing seeing the sunset just as you embark on a 12-hour drive that you have to complete in one sitting. Driving that far in one session is hard enough with 2 drivers and plenty of prep, but being forced to do it unexpectedly is an entirely different beast. I hope I don't have to do it again anytime soon, or ever. We eventually made it home at 4:30 in the morning, and I did not get a lot done at work that day. I think I did Tuscaloosa justice with a lot of these pictures, this one of Denny Chimes being my favorite. The rest of the shots, particularly from the Nikon, aren't exactly what I would call high art, but I am happy to have them for the memories. It's really interesting to go back to a place I know so well and see it through a new lens. It obviously blows to travel all the way somewhere just to see your team lose, but we did get some redemption when we saw Alabama beat Georgia in the SEC championship. As far as I'm concerned, that's where the season ended. I know Nick Saban will lead the Tide to another natty soon enough. No, I'm not crying. Just turn the camera off. Roll Tide.